Taurus, April brings the month you stop carrying everything alone and start healing what's been quietly draining you. Because here's the thing, you've been holding it together. You've been the reliable one, the one who shows up, the one who doesn't complain. And somewhere along the way, that became the expectation, not just from everyone else, but from you. And now your mind won't stop. The pressure you haven't talked about, that's not going away. It's compounding. So let's lay it out. 3 cards, the trap, the pattern that's keeping you stuck, the interface, how April processes you through it, and the key, the action that breaks it open. Welcome to Hidden Gate Tarot, so let's go. Here's the trap. The trap is the 9 of Swords. And if you know this card, you already feel it. This is the card of 3 a.m. thinking, the card of lying in bed with your eyes open, running through every responsibility, every conversation, every worst case scenario on repeat. And here's what most people miss about the 9 of Swords. The swords hanging on the wall behind the figure, they're not falling. They're not attacking. They're just there. The suffering in this card is mental. It's self-regulated. It's self-generated. That doesn't mean it's not real. It absolutely is. But it means the threat you're agonizing over may not be as immediate or as catastrophic as your mind is telling you it is. And for Taurus specifically, this hits different. You're not a sign that panics easily. You're the one people lean on. You're the rock. So when you're losing sleep, when you're spiraling, you don't even recognize it as distress. You're calling it being responsible. You call it planning ahead. You call it just thinking things through. No, you're burning out, and you're doing it silently. This is early April energy, right in the thick of Aries season, where the world around you is pushing go, go, go. Cardinal fire energy everywhere. Everyone's launching, starting, charging forward, and you're sitting there thinking, I can barely keep up with what I already have. How am I supposed to start something new? That pressure gap between what the world expects and what you actually have capacity for, that's the trap. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's a nervous system that's been running on fumes and calling it fine. The 9 of Swords says you have been carrying weight that you haven't named, responsibilities you take on because no one else would. Worries about money, about stability, about people depending on you. And because you're Taurus, you internalize all of it. You don't ask for help. You don't vent. You just absorb it. And now it's waking you up at night. That's the trap. Not the problems themselves, but the belief that you have to solve them all alone, in your own head, in the dark. So let's look at the interface. The interface is the Hermit. Now this is important because the Hermit isn't punishment. The Hermit is medicine. April is asking you to do something that Taurus is actually built for, but rarely gives itself permission to do. Withdrawal. Not quit, not disappear. Withdrawal. Intentionally, temporarily, strategically. The Hermit carries a lantern. One small light. Not a spotlight, not a floodlight. A lantern. Enough to see the next step. And that's the operating mode April is offering you. You don't need to see the whole path. You don't need to have the 5-year plan sorted. You need to see one step ahead, and you need silence to see it. Around mid-April, as the sun begins its transition from Aries into Taurus season, your season, around the 19th or 20th, the energy shifts from initiation to consolidation, from started to build it. And that shift is the Hermit's gift. The noise dies down, the external pressure eases, and if you've been brave enough to create space before the shift, you're ready to use it. But here's where the interface does its work. The Hermit doesn't just give you solitude, it gives you confrontation with yourself. When you pull back from everyone else's needs, from the obligations and from the noise, what's left? What's actually yours? Some of the worry in that Nine of Swords, it might not even be your worry. It might be inherited anxiety, financial fear passed down from your family, relationship patterns you've absorbed from someone else. The Hermit strips it back and says, what is actually yours to carry? And what did you just pick up because it was on the floor? This is inner work, real inner work, not the pretty kind you post about, the uncomfortable kind where you sit with the silence long enough to hear what you've been drowning out. And the timing matters. April's new moon, this is your intention-setting moment, the first builder's moon of the season. But you can't set an honest intention if you don't know what you actually want. And you can't know what you want if you've been so busy managing everyone else's reality that you forgot to check in with your own. The Hermit says, check in. Before you build anything new, know what you're building and why. This might look like canceling plans for a weekend, turning your phone off for a day. You can do it. Journaling, not manifesting, not affirming, just writing down what's actually going on in your head without editing it. Going for a long walk alone, sitting in your car in a parking lot for an extra 10 minutes before going inside. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be yours. What is the key? The key is the star. And YouTube made me do that. And after the Nine of Swords and the Hermit, this is exactly where you need to land. The star is card 17 in the major arcana. It comes directly after the Tower, and that's not an accident. In the traditional sequence, the Tower tears everything down, and the star is what's left when the dust settles. It's not naive hope. It's not toxic positivity. It's the quiet knowing that after the worst of it, there's still something real, something worth healing towards. For Taurus in April, the star says, once you slow down, once you stop white-knuckling your way through every day, once you sit in the Hermit's silence long enough to actually hear yourself, the healing begins. Not because you did something extraordinary, but because you finally stopped long enough to let it happen. So the star card is the card of renewal. The figure in the card is kneeling by water, pouring from two vessels, one into the pool and the other on the land. It's replenishment. It's giving back to yourself what you've been pouring out for everyone else. And it's doing it consciously, not accidentally. This is late April energy. Taurus season is settling in, and spring expansion window is open. And unlike early April, where everything felt urgent and pressured, the back half of the month feels like a long exhale. You've finally earned the right to be without performing. The star's message for you is specific. You are moving toward alignment, not manifesting abundance, actually grounded Taurus alignment, where your energy matches your output, where what you give matches what you receive, where the life you're building actually feels like yours, not like a list of obligations with your name on it. But the star requires one thing from you: vulnerability. Not the kind you perform for others, the kind where you admit to yourself, I've been exhausted. I've been scared. I've been pretending I'm fine when I'm not. That admission isn't weakness. For Taurus, it's the bravest thing you can do, because once you name it, you can stop carrying it. And once you stop carrying it, you can start healing it. Here's what it looks like practically. By the end of April, if you've done the Hermit's work, if you've actually pulled back and gotten honest, you're starting to notice something. The anxiety that was eating you alive in early April, well, it's quieter. Not gone, quieter. The problems that felt unsolvable, they're not solved, but you can see them more clearly. You've stopped spiraling and started assessing, and from a clearer place. You can actually make decisions that serve you. The star doesn't fix your life. The star says you're not broken. You're just depleted. So refill. So here's April for Taurus. The Nine of Swords says the burnout has been building silently, steadily, in the hours when no one's watching. You've been running on mental fumes and calling it strength. Hermit says April is giving you permission. And honestly, it's more than permission. It's a demand to step back. Withdraw from the noise. Get still. Find out what's actually yours to carry and what you can set down. And the star says once you do that, the healing isn't something you have to chase. It meets you. Renewal comes not from doing more, but from finally doing less and doing it without guilt. April doesn't ask you to perform strength. It asks you to admit where you're depleted. Get quiet enough to hear what you actually need and trust that alignment is waiting on the other side of honesty. Stop carrying everything alone. That's not your job. It never was. If this reading made sense to you, if it clicked, subscribe to Hidden Gate Tarot. Every reading uses this same system, the trap, the interface, and the key. Structure that actually gives you something to do with what the cards are saying. I'll see you at the next one.